Some folks don't realize that not every house on a road is under HOA control. My family's farmhouse sat on the edge of a subdivision, and long before the HOA even existed, we had a natural spring that provided water for our land and, get this, the entire neighborhood. Decades ago, my grandfather agreed to share access. He built piping that carried clean spring water into homes nearby, free of charge. Everyone was grateful. Well, everyone except HOA Karen. She became HOA president 2 years ago and suddenly decided, the spring is HOA property, and it must be controlled. She started sending me letters demanding that I submit access rights and allow the HOA to regulate the water. I laughed and tossed them in the trash. That spring was on my land, and the county deed clearly stated I owned full rights. Karen didn't like being ignored. One morning, I walked out to check the flow at the pump house and froze. The spring's outflow pipe was silent. When I looked closer, my jaw dropped. Someone had poured concrete straight into the source line. A literal block of hardened cement jammed into the natural spring outlet. It didn't just cut me off, it cut off water to every single house in the HOA. And guess who was bragging about it at the next board meeting? Karen. She proudly told the members that she had finally taken control of the spring and that the HOA would now be installing a modern, fee-based water system. When neighbors asked why their taps were dry, she told them it was temporary. Too bad she underestimated me. I immediately called the county water authority and reported vandalism of a protected natural spring. Within a day, inspectors were on site. They confirmed not only was the spring on my property, but what Karen had done was illegal environmental destruction. The kicker? Because the HOA had been piping from my spring for decades, they had no backup system. By day 3, the whole neighborhood was in chaos. No showers, no dishwashing, no flushing toilets. The county sheriff knocked on my door and asked for my statement. I showed him the letters Karen had sent, the damaged pump house, and the blocked pipe. He sighed and said, well, she just turned the entire neighborhood against herself. Karen was charged with property damage, environmental violation, and tampering with a utility. The HOA had to pay tens of thousands to restore the spring and rerun the lines. And guess who they had to pay it to? Me, because the spring was mine. At the emergency HOA meeting, neighbors were furious. One man shouted, "You cut off water to my family for 3 days. My wife had to shower at her sister's house." Another yelled, "My kids couldn't even flush the toilet." Karen tried to deflect, saying, it was for the good of the community. But no one bought it. They voted her out on the spot. As for me, I worked with the county to put up a locked security fence and cameras around the spring. The HOA had to sign a formal agreement acknowledging that the water was mine and that they were tenants of the system. And you know what? I started charging a maintenance fee. Not outrageous, just enough to cover upkeep and security. The same neighbors who once ignored me now wave kindly every time they see me, because they know exactly where their running water comes from. Karen? She had to sell her house at a loss. Nobody wanted to live next to the woman who literally cut off an entire neighborhood's water supply. Moral of the story: don't mess with someone's natural spring, especially when your whole neighborhood depends on it.